Brigadier, did you realize then that these orders for the attack had come from the corps commander? And then if you were calling off the attack, despite the orders of the corps commander, you could be sacked?
Sir, I well understood it. But somewhere one is also from a military background, and one has read enough this thing there, that there are certain times you have to take certain decisions which are, well, you have to accept the consequences. So, because I could not have allowed and seen 40 people being killed for no purpose. When my own assessment was 1%, I agreed with their assessment, which was 0.5% or 1%. This is a chance in nahi hai. And seeing the feature myself, I was on the ground there. So I took it on the belief that I'm on the ground and I've seen it, and therefore I feel I'm the right man to take a decision.
You later had to move the High Court, which is unusual. You were still serving then when you moved the High Court. Why did you have to do that?
Because it was not a matter of promotion. It was a matter that the corps commander, General Kishan Pal, had written adversely about me in the his battle performance report, which he rendered on me.
And Batalik?
In Batalik, he wrote adversely. He said, I was nowhere and this, that, whereas everywhere else I'm leading in front. My citation reads otherwise, everything. So he wrote that. So they had no option. I mean, I'm not the type who's ever been to a court, etc. there. But I had no option but to go.
General VP Malik, the then chief, wrote a book 6-7 years after the war, From Surprise to Victory. Looking back, was it really a victory at all, Brigadier Devinder Singh?
Certainly for the boys who did the assaults, and including as a brigade, we did the assaults, for us it's a victory because we had a task. There's an enemy there and we there. But if you start analyzing at the highest level, that the enemy has come in, I think except for the chief who was, whenever a few occasions met, and even later on his actions, he acted as a stabilizing factor. But there was a coterie of generals.
Coterie?
Coterie means who were there, who for various reasons did not deliver as well as they should have.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight. On the 25th anniversary of the Kargil War, we continue to look back on the war with respect and admiration for our brave soldiers. At the same time, we introspect on various aspects of the conflict which have over the years escaped notice, perhaps in the rush of hype and publicity. Last week we spoke to a young officer, ex-Major Manish Bhatnagar, which got an overwhelming response. Today I am talking to retired Brigadier Devinder Singh, then commander of 17th Infantry Brigade, which had cleared the Batalik Sector of the Pakistan Army intruders. But the big question, was he and his brigade given their due? Why did he have to move the High Court? This and more in today's episode. Welcome, Brigadier Devinder Singh.
Thank you. Privileged to be with you.
Brigadier, first things first. Way back in 1999, when were you told to move to Batalik, and what exactly was the brief?
This was on 7th May. I had returned from Srinagar. We are doing some homework on how to manage the national highway, and I was a reserve brigade commander with no battalions. So obviously, and I had moved to Ladakh back from the Kashmir Valley just a few months ago, only as a floating headquarter. Battalions were to follow as soon as the pass, that is the Zujila Pass, opens in May. So meanwhile, I was being, putting my mind to, I was being utilized for all these purposes. And this meeting was taking place on 7th May when Brigadier Sundar, who was also along with me, he says, I've got a call from General Budwar. He says we have to meet him tomorrow in his headquarters at Kargil. And he's flying down from Leh. So I said, any background? He said, yes, there was an intrusion on 3rd May. I had sent patrols. And he says the 3 of my patrols, one from 3 Punjab, one from Grenadiers, and one from 4 Jat had gone. All 3 of them have been ambushed. And that is the background. So with this background, I stayed the night with him in Kargil. And the next day, we received General Budwar. And then the discussion started.
But Batalik Sector was a part of 121 Brigade, which was then commanded by Brigadier Devinder Singh. So how was the sector split?
You are right. Brigade Sundar's 121 Brigade stretched from Mashko all the way to Chorbatla, which included Batalik Sector.
Okay.
So what then was decided was that the Batalik Sector will come to me. That means really leaving the Batalik township itself, the complete area of the intrusion, which was the unoccupied area.
Okay.
Except Chorbatla was the next where it was occupied. So this complete area will come under me.
Okay.
All right. There, and I'll get the troops, and therefore Surinder will be only up till the Indus River. Okay. And Hambatingla, that's all, Kargil and up to the Indus.
So Brigadier, when you landed in Batalik, in that sector, what did you find?
So initially I landed up only in the battalion headquarters of 3 Punjab.
3 Punjab?
3 Punjab. It was his battalion, but then that understanding was there that since my own headquarters had to yet fetch up, it would have taken 2-3 days.
Okay.
And by the time we
So where exactly was 3 Punjab?
3 Punjab was in proper Batalik.
Okay.
Town of Batalik. And that is where I married up with them on the 18th evening only. There was it was good that I did that because the amount of information and etc. I could gather from them,
right,
and the assistance was tremendous. I had done my recce during the winter months over this area, being the reserve brigade commander and having run the war games. But that knowledge was not intimate. When you have to take over a sector, then you need intimate knowledge. So they gave me a lot of information. That is the time we heard these broadcasts of the over the Pakistani intercepts, and they were showing a lot of firing going on there, and they were all in either Pushto, Balti, Farsi, these language. So for a moment we thought, so much firing is going on. It's not matching up to the firing that our ambush.
So all that was what Pakistan was relaying was exaggerated.
Old Mujahideen tapes of the actions against the Russians. Those were being played here just to show that a lot of action is taking place. And luckily that area had its what do you call it, Muslim dominated area. There are a lot of mosques, but they are Shia mosques, and they are more aligned to Iran.
Okay.
And so therefore they had Maulvis who were well versed with Farsi, Pushto, etc. So we got them turn by turn trying to decipher this, and we soon realized that it's not matching up with the kind of intensity of firing they're showing, because there's no firing to it.
So you then realized there's some game plan.
I mean, like I said, but the confusion came again because 8th May the intrusion was confirmed here. 11th May it was confirmed in Tolning. So we said maybe Tolning is having this heavy firing.
Okay.
So that confusion prevailed for a few days. But by the time I got my, as the initial some troops scraped together were given to me, and the moment we recovered the patrols, that is the time, within a few days, we realized that they were...
So when did you start getting more troops, and where were they coming from? Where were they given to you from?
On 9th May, I was informed that 2 battalions returning from Siachen are being given to you.
Okay.
And but to my surprise, when 111 GR landed up first, their one Barsati Major Ratela was in command.
Okay.
Man means lieutenant captain, but putting on a major's rank.
Okay.
And Manoj Pandey was there as a lieutenant and one more officer. And there's just a strength of 299.
Okay.
And they said, so there's a major advance party gone to Pune. There's a huge leave party which has gone after Siachen, which normally happens as the case to Nepal. And we have handed over all our equipment, we have handed over all our clothing, and we really don't have the kind of wherewithal except for our personal weapons there. I said, fine, never mind. So we had to take on that. But the first task is, I also really didn't know the extent of the enemy because only the patrols were ambushed.
Right.
And the moment we were vacating these people, they were returning to the battalion. We couldn't interrogate them much. So what we did was, I inducted them along Yaldur Nala and said, you go till you hit the enemy.
Okay.
And then you try to assess the situation and embed yourself there and flank out. The second battalion released to me was 12 Jackali, same state, same distance.
They also came from Siachen?
Siachen, sir. Right, same strength. They were less than 300, and there. But their CO was there.
So you basically got a company each of these 2 battalions.
You're right, sir. Company plus, but all mixed, all this thing with all key elements gone. With all key elements gone, either on leave or on advance party.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So Colonel Barotia was there, but to my advantage, 12 Jackali was local. They were from J&K.
Okay.
So their build-up was faster. By about 20 or 25th May, they were almost a battalion complete.
Okay.
Whereas 111 GR took longer. Then party had to return from Nepal, etc. And we all know that Nepali troops, when they go on leave, you can't predict the date generally.
That's right.
Right. So by the time, but considering the war and all the message they got, they came and they were effective. Once they were there, they were very effective.
While going through the Batalik operations, I read that you were asked to attack a feature called Kukarthang with the troops of 111 GR, 111 Gurkha Rifles. But at the last moment, you called off the attack. Why did you call off the attack?
So the background is, like I said, they reached me on 11th May.
Right.
They were in Leh at 9th. And the irony which I've always held, I have not been able to understand. Kargil Review Committee says 2 well-acclimatized battalions released to 70 Infantry Brigade, giving the impression like 2 Alpine ready battalions have been given. But the strength...
But they were surely acclimatized. I mean, they may not have other elements.
Absolutely. Very true statement, but very misleading statement.
That's right.
Right, okay. So why this was so, I don't know why this narrative was there, by whom was it being put. But it was adverse to subordinates like us who felt that this is not fair. Right, but this is there. These 2 lines are there in the Kargil Review Committee report. So then they were, they reached me on 11th. I inducted them to Yaldor, and Kukarthang is a feature which is overlooking Yaldor.
Okay.
There. So that is where the first attack sensibly...
all that would be on this, picture we have is on the right of this?
Sir, you are right. What you are seeing in this picture is Batalik on the north and Darchik there. This is a Indus River flowing.
Okay.
Batalik sector is all extending extreme right into the mountains. This will be at about 9,000 feet. That will be around maybe 17,000 feet, 18,000.
Okay.
So that's all area is that. It's nothing but ranges, which I'll explain what was the layout. So Kukarthang was a feature, and somehow the orders came up from the top to attack Kukarthang.
Okay.
And before I knew it, the army commander, being from Gurkhas, General Khanna, he had come in March, April only. So he, on a patched up line, somehow spoke to the CO, officiating CO. He had returned meanwhile, by 15th May he had returned from Delhi. So Colonel Amal Ustana, that time Lieutenant Colonel Amal Ustana, he said, he spoke to me. So I said, what did you say? He said, no, first time a Gurkha battalion is being there. So, keep good show. So I said, he said, I just stammered. I really couldn't put the point across that I'm in no position to attack. Then
understandable, because Lieutenant Colonel is
Lieutenant Colonel and Army Commander,
yes, as
such. There. So then I quickly did this thing. I went. I paid a visit to Yaldor. I have a photograph of that sitting there on 16-17 May, and conferring with Manoj Pandey and Astana and Rotela, and my BM was also along with me, now General Indra Balan, that time Major Indra Balan. So we did an assessment, and the assessment was that the attack plan will only be 0.5% success. 0.5% to 1%. Half to 1%.
Would be only a 0.5%
or 1%. That was their assessment, right? And I also agreed with them, because what they were facing is the 800 meters of sheer climb over snow.
Okay.
They're fully visible to the enemy. The strength they could muster after giving fighting porters, setting up a firm base, etc., was about 70 to 80.
Okay.
And that minimal take them 1.5 hours to there. It was moonlight. Artillery could not be zeroed in because we were so close to the...
what was your assessment? What is the strength of the enemy on Kukarthang?
Enemy we thought was at least a platoon strength on Kukarthang,
Okay.
minimum. That time it turned out to be more later, right? Platoon strength. So we said this attack, at least I was very clear in my mind after that this attack makes no sense.
Okay.
We lose about 40-50 boys by the time we call off the attack. And meanwhile, we had been hearing in other sectors also that the attacks had been failing because they were not militants. The attacks were against a well-entrenched enemy, and somehow all the attacks had been failing. So I said, it's a senseless attack, which is not going to yield results. But then, who is going to say no? I tried to raise the issue with General Budwar in the evening, one day, second day. He somehow said, sorry, these orders are from the top, and everybody looking at this attack as a major event to take place there.
So he was not willing to belt the cat?
He was not, because I think, I'll give you the background, is that somehow Brigadier Devinder Singh had already been removed. And General Budwar was also part of the intrusion blame game. And he was he was being considered as because his division had allowed intrusion had taken place in his division, I'll say that.
Right.
Whereas I somehow felt that I have come up from behind. I had no holding responsibility. So the intrusion.
You have no baggage.
I have no baggage there. So me and my BM then conferred with each other there. Finally, at about 11:45, I informed the GOC that I'm calling off this attack on my orders. So all I got was a message that saying send a log. So I sent a log saying the attack being called off on the orders of the brigade commander. Right, because I realized.
But Brigadier, did you realize then that these orders for the attack had come from the corps commander, and then if you were calling off the attack, despite the orders of the corps commander, you could be sacked?
Sir, I well understood it. But somewhere one is also from a military background, and one has read enough this thing there, that there are certain times you have to take certain decisions which are, well, you have to accept the consequences. So, because I could not have allowed and seen 40 people being killed for no purpose. When my own assessment was 1%, I agreed with their assessment, which was 0.5% or 1%. This is a chance in hai. And seeing the feature myself, I was on the ground there. So I took it on the plea that I'm on the ground and I've seen it, and therefore I feel I'm the right man to take a decision. I'm not asking the battalion to take a decision to call off the attack, because they can't say. In Indian tradition, the battalions don't say no. Right, but somebody has to hold their hand.
But I believe Colonel Asthana and Captain Manoj Pandey did bear the brunt of this. They faced a problem.
No, so after this, what happened? The very next day, there was fumes in the in the corps headquarters, and General Budwar was sent, and immediately these people were at least Manoj Pandey was called back. It's not so 1 day's walking, so he was called back, and Asthana was on the line, and they were debriefed. So, somehow there was the impression, maybe the corps commander had an impression that I've done it on my own. But then when he got this feedback from them, saying that the circumstances were such that there was no way this attack could have been successful.
Okay.
And all the battalion had said very clearly, they are not the ones who were refusing, but they were just giving me their chances of success. And they were saying that give us more time, we will prepare ourselves and then we'll do it later. But all this was not gelling, I mean, it was not getting communicated or
so
being absorbed.
That is how their court-martial was planned, right?
There was no court-martial plan, but they were called, they were debriefed, and then General Budwar, I think, said, I'm satisfied that they meant well, there was there, and therefore then we gave Manoj Pandey from there only an alternate task in Jupar. So he was then moved to Jupar. But really no court-martial, nothing was, that's the only conjecture. But really nothing actually happened on the ground.
But you also deposed in the court-martial of Major Manish Bhatnagar. What did you say?
So Manish Bhatnagar was 5 para, and this happened slightly later in the time frame. Now we are talking about 17th May. This happened on 13th, 14th May when Tolling was getting captured.
Okay.
The background is that General Malik had visited my sector, Jorbatla, on 10th. Corps commander was present, Div commander was present. And he had asked the assessment, and assessment I said, I want to say 800, but I'll say 600, knowing the conservative estimates.
Right.
There. General Budwar was asked, he said 350 to 400 but regulars.
Okay.
General Krishnapal was asked, and which, people will now not try to confirm, but he said 45 and that to militants. And then, according to that, General Malik on return, to his credit, had put a stop to these irrational attacks, without adequate, troops to the task ratio. Normally, the attacker's ratio to a defender is 3:1.
Okay.
Here he laid down 10:1, I think, for Turuling, and 15:1 for Batalik Sector. On the ground, I had a smattering of about 3 to 4 battalions, but they're all one Ladakh Scout company, one so-and-so company, one so-and-so company from Siachen and all, really. So we had already been open for about almost 30 to 40 days in the boulders, because we were the contact with the enemy was 2 days ahead of the roadhead.
Right.
So we were all living off our rucksack. There was really nothing available. Luckily, the Army Aviation was giving us this thing, and some locals were giving us the porter support.
Right.
So we are there. And I then in the briefing, it became a stalemate. Then what next to proceed when this is the difference in the there? So I said I need troops, and then I can show results. I've already encircled we reached the line of control on 30th of May. Right?
Okay.
Encircled the enemy almost 3/4 of the way, but then we encountered the watershed. That last portion had to be done later. And plus on our flank was a feature named 5203, which if I had launched any attack, it would have interfered, because visually they could have picked each one us up and passed on the information. So it was very necessary to clear that feature. So we were attempting to clear it there. Our plan was there for 2 days later, but somehow I was not getting fresh troops to do the job, because these troops had been too long in the open, and they were now, after repeated attempts and contact with the enemy, they were not really fit, and we had to climb in a night almost 4,000 feet to be really successful.
Okay.
And so therefore we made a plan where no fire and move. We'll create whatever attacking troops are into 2 parts. One is just walking up assault people who with nothing on they're just a weapon, and they'll just walk up so that they can scale 4,000 feet very comfortably by about 2 o'clock at night, and the balance will get their baggage up. So that was the plan. So with this background, I asked, I'll finish that briefing part, that at the end of the briefing, General Malik then realized that, it's a stalemate. So, and he had not seen any success there also in Turuling, because this was 10th June. So he says, I'm looking for results. I said, sir, we are there to deliver results, but I need troops. You have seen the enormity of the sector and this thing there. I need troops there. He says, okay, I'll do something about it. So when he went back, for this operation, 12 Jackal had already attempted, they had not been successful, partially successful. So I asked for 3 fresh companies.
Okay.
And this was communicated to General Budwar. He said, Chief has told me, I'm doing something about it, I'll give you. So instead of 3, he said, 1 you may do, I'll give you 2. I said, that was okay.
Okay.
All right. In 2, he gave me 1 Ladakh Scout company, and then the other company he gave me was a 5-para company, which was rushed from Siachen and reached me. That Major Manish Bhatnagar was the company commander in that. But when he reached me, I briefed him, on how we'll do the attack, and you'll have to do in one night you'll have to climb 4,000 feet, and in 2 parts, one carrying the load, one other. So he said, sir, I've been moved post haste from Siachen. My people were 6 months in Siachen.
Right.
The 40% or 30% of my JCOs and about 20-25% of my men are unfit for this task, physically. Plus, we have not, our weapons have not been zeroed, nothing there, and we have not had no time. We're just coming, and I said, I can give you 48 hours more, because I'm under also pressure to move and do the attack. So he said, sir, I need minimum 8 to 10 days. Okay. I said, think again, because there's real problems then. How can we do this? No, he said, sir, he went. He said, sir, I think I understand. You report the matter if you want to. That this can't be done within less than 8 to 10 days. So with this, I talked to General Budwar. General Budwar flew in the next day. Right. He also talked to him there. And then I think he talked to the corps commander. And what transpired was that CO 5 Para, along with another company commander, Captain Karyapa, now brigadier, and additional officers in the company, Lieutenant Surinder. They were flown in. They came in. They told Bhatnagar that you are relieved of the company and you move to the roadhead. And then the CEO got the company together and said, who all are unfit now? A lot of people said they are unfit. He says, okay, hold. Luckily, there was another 5-para company available to me right from the beginning of the operation.
Okay.
It had come down earlier from the section as part of that ad hoc resources. So he, as a CEO, he got hold of that company also. I made it available to him. He shifted the people and then told me, sir, company for attack now ready. I will also come with you at the base of the hill of 5203 and I'll see that the attack goes through. Right? So that is the background of Bhatnagar's there. But when
and you must have said all this in the.
So I said that in the court martial that there were no executive orders given to him to attack.
Right.
I explained the situation to him.
Okay.
He posed the problems, and thereafter, what the court martial authorities had to do.
Brigadier, let me go back to Colonel Asthana. He later became a brigadier, but Captain Manoj Pandey made the supreme sacrifice. He died in the war. How did that happen?
So Manoj Pandey, Asthana was officiating CO till 2nd of June when Colonel Lalit Rai was moved in from the Kashmir Valley. He was in the RR, some RR or
right.
other battalion, and he was moved in as the CO. Because he was Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel Lalit Rai was the Colonel, he was moved in, and Colonel Lalit Rai assumed command on 2nd June.
Okay.
Till that time, Asthana was the officiating CO. So, but Manoj Pandey was actually the physical assaults are being led by young officers, except for the final one which we did when it is the battalion attack. But most actions are at a lesser company level.
Right.
So Manoj Pandey was a very brave officer, very spirited. Like I said, this when we planned this attack on Kukarthang, I mean, when we discussed this plan on Kukarthang, he had no reservations of going in for the attack.
Okay.
But it was my responsibility also and the CEO's responsibility to know that by what are going to be the casualties. So after this, he was sent to Jubbar, where he performed reasonably well. But then One Bihar was inducted in. So the complete responsibility of Jubbar, with great relief, I gave it to a battalion which had come in full, and my western flank and Chananala went to One Bihar.
Okay.
Similarly, I got 14 Sikh, which I put on the eastern flank in Chorbadla, and I rested with that much ease that my eastern flank was secure. Now I could concentrate on the central part, which was Kukarthang, Junglungpa, Khalubar, Padmago, etc., 4812. So with this, he came on to Kukarthang.
Okay.
And then there was the plan of attack, which is our final plan of attack. Like I said, we cleared 5203 with 4812, with 12 Jacklai, one company Ladakh Scout, and one company of 5-para. This happened on 20th, 21st June.
Okay.
And the feature was in our hands. We gave ourselves some time to plan for this large attack. Now, this attack was planned, 2 battalions were to go through Chananala, which was on the western flank, Jubbar and Chananala.
Okay.
And 3 battalions were to attack the Khalubar ridgeline, which comprises the features of 4812 with 12 Jacklai to capture. 22 grenadiers which had come in was to capture Khalubar.
Okay.
And Padma Go was to be captured by Ladakh Scouts, which was more towards the watershed and the highest areas. Battalion less 2 companies of 111 GR were moved under Lalit Rai to be kept as reserve in case any of these attacks falters or is a partial success.
Okay.
All right. But this was the layout of the plan, and we preceded the western flank by 2 days, so that the consideration was that the enemy could reinforce from Manthodalo either Jubbar ridgeline or this Khalubar ridgeline. Okay. And within the Khalubar ridgeline, 4812, Khalubar and Padmago were all interconnected. So they could easily, you tag one feature, and that was the reason where I resisted pressure from the top that do not make me attack features singularly, because enemy will be able to reinforce, the chances of success will not be there. again. So somehow I managed to avoid that, and I was successful in that. And then we launched this attack with, like I said, 3 to 5 battalions plus 1 battalion in reserve. We launched this attack, and as it happened, 22 Grenadiers was a partial success, and therefore battalion less 2 companies of 111 GR had to be launched. In this, along with the CO, Manoj Pandey had gone in there. CO was behind, Manoj Pandey was leading, and that is the time he, got martyred, and did an excellent job, excellent done. Their hats off to him.
So very sad. By what date were you really battle ready, as we can call it?
We were battle ready with whatever forces we had. These 2 battalions, basically 111 GR and 12 Jackalai, they were by end of May, first week of June, they were ready. But I needed troops far more in strength. So this requirement of troops continued, because like I said, I needed at least 1:15 was the laydown ratio, but I needed at least 1:10. And I've already said in my assessment that there was 600 to 800. That is, the battalion strength was already there of the enemy. So therefore I needed at least 10 battalions, but if you lay down the ratio, then 15 battalions.
So the demand kept...
no, I did not insist. I insisted on troops as the requirement came up.
Okay.
As the requirement came up. And like I said, I was ahead of the requirement. My planning was complete. My encirclement was complete. But I was awaiting troops. Moment the troops
to launch the assault.
To launch the assault.
By when were you clear, Brigadier, that what you're facing are not militants, but actually trained Pakistan soldiers?
So this was as early as, like I said, 17th May, this attack was called off. I again may have some doubts or something like that. Last doubt was cleared around 2-3 days later, because 12 Jackalai also encountered on 481 to the same kind of...
But when were your senior commanders clear that, what you're facing is Pakistan soldiers and not militants?
Sir, like I said, there was a briefing on 10th June. And I was saying 600 to 800 militants, regulars. My GOC was saying 350 to 400 regulars. And the corps commander was saying 45, and that to militants.
So when did he realize that what he's facing is much more?
He's gone on record. There's a video of which is on All India or some other one there by Virat Hussain. I think she recorded it there, in which he clearly says that till we captured Tololing, and I physically saw these weapons. I think 17th, 18th May is the statement. Then I changed my mindset that we were not facing militants, but we were facing regulars.
What is the strategy that you adopted? Because I've come across this in a number of books, that you decided to starve the enemy rather than launch frontal attacks.
Unlike the Dras and Machko sector, which is, people generally know that, the features of Tololing Tiger Hill are visible from the road. They're an open area. In Batalik, moment you enter Batalik, it is already compartmentalized. Necessary to understand the terrain. Terrain is that parallel to the Indus River and the road, there's just a 50-meter belt that we had access to. And another 20 kilometers ahead, towards the POK side, is a watershed.
Right.
A watershed means the highest line of features from where were emanating ridge lines which were coming towards us. One ridge line was Jupar, one ridge line was...
it's almost like different fingers of the
fingers
hand.
they're coming there, they're like this from the knuckle. These fingers are coming and they're touching the Indus River. Right. One was Kukarthan, one was Khalubar, then was 5203, and then finally Chorpan. So we were compartmentalized from the beginning, which was a nightmare for us, because each one of these required a separate command control element.
Okay.
Actually, this was a divisional task, right? But at that time, considering there were few militants, the task was given because you were a brigade and militants don't require that heavy intensity of troops. But then, like I said, as the situation unfolded, it was probably too late to change, or there was no this thing. So 70 Brigade built up from 0 battalions in 60 days to 11 battalions finally. But what we had done was, we didn't waste our time because we didn't have troops. We were getting leftovers sort of a thing from pulled everywhere in 3 and 3 was on low priority as it is as a division there.
So high priority then by then was 8 Mountain Dev.
No, 8 Mountain Dev was always on high priority because in the minds of our higher headquarters, counterinsurgency was the highest priority for the last 10 years.
That's right.
And the only other high priority was Siachen. So there was no, the rest, everybody was on low priority.
We're talking about your strategy.
Right.
Yes.
So what one did was one then went through the nalas and encircled the enemy. So that, but it paid off dividends later because we did that in May only, 30th May we reached the line of control. But as June happened, the snow on top started melting. The moment the snow started melting, they were looking for water resources because all troops, including ours, we melt snow and drink water there. But when there's no snow, then we have to make alternate positions and come and take water from the rivulets. Now, unless there are springs around there, so they had difficulty in accessing their Munthodalo, which was the central thing. So they would have come down. But we were in this sitting here. We did not allow them to come down. They didn't allow us to come up. So we had encircled them. And moment, this encirclement was complete and we got troops. The second part, which I already mentioned to you, is I realized that attacking any single feature, which was the policy elsewhere.
So you planned simultaneous
because they would have done reinforcements to each other. So it was again useless to attack a single feature. So therefore, like I said, we attacked these features together with 5 battalions and with the battalion in reserve. And that is how we got success. And momently we started this operation on 28 June. 30th June was on the eastern flank, 28th June on the western flank to draw the enemy in. And by 4th of July, we were on top. And 5th of July, we had the complete, we were crossing our Kanwar ridgeline and heading towards the line of control. And by 8-9 July, we were on the line of control completely.
So the enemy was evicted from the Batalik Sector on 9th July. That's what is mentioned in all accounts.
Right up to the line of control. Actually, within Batalik Sector by 5th of July.
General Bammi makes a mention of this. He also talks about the fact that you were commanding virtually a division plus troops, strength of troops. When General Malik learnt of the fact that you had cleared Batalik, what was his immediate response?
So he's was always, like I said, he's been at the helm of affairs. He was always balanced. Like I said, he was the only one who even supported the 111 GR when they were without resources. Aman Ustana wrote off an inland letter, which to the chief, and somehow it reached him. And then he came and investigated, and to his horror, he says he had to spend 2 days in 15 Corps headquarters, and he discovered that what 111 years was saying.
But Brigadier, what kind of a system is this that a CO has to write an inland letter to the army chief? I mean, does it mean that all communication channels were non-existent?
So it all depends on the intervening levels of command.
Right.
How much they take an interest in paying, their regard to their subordinates. It's very important. By and large, the Indian Army, up to the colonel level and brigadier level, has been delivering throughout.
Right.
In this war, I have got my own doubts. Any account you read is only about a battalion action of so-and-so, battalion action of so-and-so. There is hardly any examination of, there are 3 levels there, tactical level, operational art and strategic. There is no mention of the operational art.
Right? No mention of the operational art.
Operational art is the level from brigadier to the director.
Nor is there a mention of the overall strategy.
Strategy, there's still a mention. You didn't cross the LOC. You were whether to escalate to other sectors, not to. So there is a certain. You move the reserve divisions in. So there has been some strategic level thinking.
Right.
But the operational art, which would have yielded results and probably reduced the casualties, I have my doubts whether that has been exercised. Batalik had some, I'll be very lucky to say, because that was a compulsion. I didn't have troops, so I had to do something, so I did that.
Let me come back to General Bami's book. He also says that you were only given a VSM, Vashisht Seva Medal, even though your citation is very glowing. Did that upset you? Does it still rankle?
Sir, that is true. The citation is of a was of a MVC. I believe it was later watered down to a slightly lower level, but it is talks of gallantry and bravery and operational matters, whereby the award is finally of a.
But I thought VSM is normally given for peacetime operations.
Administrative and hard work there. So, but I am not one to question, but I'll be very candid with you that Jan Malik has been on record to say that my case is an aberration, not only on these matters, even in there are a lot of other matters connected with the Batalik operation, with which because there were some issues.
But Brigadier, you later had to move the High Court, which is unusual. You were still serving then when you moved the High Court. Why did you have to do that?
Because it was not a matter of promotion. It was a matter that the Corps Commander General Kishan Pal had written adversely about me in his battle performance report, which he rendered on me.
And Batalik?
In Batalik, he wrote adversely. He said, I was nowhere and this, that, whereas everywhere else I'm leading in front. My citation reads otherwise, everything. So he wrote that. So they had no option. I mean, I'm not the type who's ever been to a court, etc. there. But I had no option but to go. And but the High Court, there are so many judges, they called me in their chamber. They said, what you are saying is right, but it's very difficult for us to give a decision, because when the general is saying that this was what I was on the ground and do it.
Right.
Right. And there were two chief justices involved, Thakur and Satantar Kumar, I think they were there. Right. They both dealt with my case. Okay. But then the tribunal came in. And the tribunal had the Supreme Court Judge A.K. Mathur and General Milan Naidu.
So what was the final decision of the Armed Forces Tribunal in your case?
So they were very specific. I, right from the beginning, said I don't want any material gain, because I realized after 10 years, even if I get, one rank and something, what is the use? I'm not very keen on that, right? But I said all that has been written by the Corps Commander on my, reports. Any word of it should be set aside. And what has been, written, I came to know later that he had in his after action report, I'll cover that later. So as far as the ACRs are concerned, and this battle performance report is concerned, in my statutory complaint, the government had done the needful. They had set aside all the battle performance report. Normally battle performance people get one line set aside.
Right.
In my case, 1.5 page of it was set aside.
Okay.
So all that was done. 90% of what Kishan Pal had written was already set aside. But where the issue which the Army Headquarters was not agreeing to, or the MOD was not agreeing to, was that these 11 battalions which were under me, they were somehow distorted and shown under somebody else.
There is a mention of one Brigadier Dugal.
Yes. So he was Deputy GOC of 3 Infantry Division.
Okay.
Now the strange part is that he was there physically present for 3 days when the final attack of 7 battalions was to be launched. Actually, in norms, the Div Commander should be there himself when you are launching such a big operation and saying that I am here, you go and look ahead, I'll look.
Right.
Whatever support. He came Monday, General Budwar. He said, but from here I have no communications to Siachen, I have no communication on the Eastern Front, I really can't control.
Right.
So he sent him. Right. And therefore, like when this, General Brigadier Dugal came, there he, 2 days he went to Leh, which was his base there, but then went back to Kargil. So 3 days basically came to manage the logistics support area, which was established, and render any support required by us. Now, in this period, somehow, this was later changed by the Corps headquarters to show that it was a 15 days presence.
Okay.
And that he had, led the eastern flank there. Why it was so, I wondered a number of times, but one of the reasons is that somewhere while writing the history, they wanted to correct this anomaly that 11 battalions had been given to a
Brigade Commander.
Therefore, it's the wrong tasking, or it's a tasking which has question marks by a higher headquarter. And same thing, I think, mindset came to the Div Commander. But I've got affidavits from the Colonel GS and G1 Ops of 3 Div who say that their Deputy GOC had no role. Their own after-action report of 3 Div mentions very clearly that Deputy Joshi has no role to play with the 70 Brigade operations. Right? All the COs who were shown under the Deputy Joshi, they have what do you call it, given handwritten statements that they never did, and not when I was in command, sir, not when I was in command, much later, 2 years later. And very strangely, this thing, everywhere there was a policy letter at that time that if any battalion fights an action against under another commander for even one small action for 2 hours, the special battle performance report should be written on them. Mm-hmm. Right? But these battalions which are there, they've all received the ACS from me, their battle performance reports from me, their awards are from me, and there's no additional battle performance written or written. It's a hoax. It's a hoax.
I find it hard to believe that even in the war, middle of the war, after the war, there could be a hoax like this.
Sir, that's what I'm saying. To a serving chap who's on the battlefield, all this came to me as a shock. And this insertion into the Core After Action report was pointed out to me by somebody who later led the account of battle of the MO. He says, Devinder, my own battalion, somebody who, their Gurkha battalion is being shown under the Deputy Joshi.
But what is your information? Was the Corps Commander taken to task for doing this?
So I don't think so, because whatever the Corps Headquarters writes in the After Action report gets copied by the next higher headquarters. They don't bother about what is there. And therefore, they mellowed it down, but they wrote something that instead of command control, only control, right? But they wrote it. When the account of battle was put up to, when the tribunal gave the decision in my favor, this was in 2010, 10 years later, right? General Malik was accosted with the media. He was in the northeast somewhere. And he was asked that, who was in command? He says, please see my book. There's no mention of Brigadier Dogal. Right? From my side, only one commander was there.
Sadly, General Krishnapal is no more. God bless his soul. We can't reach out to him for his version.
But the documents are there. But the documents are there.
Right.
And now what happened was, but the army realized that they had, they said, okay, fine, whatever ACRs and all to be set aside, we have no problem. That's the standard system in the army. We'll settle it. But amending this would have meant that there's been a fudging of documents, acceptance.
Okay.
Would have meant that people in MO branch have also fudged documents because they've reproduced it. And whereas the documentary proof is still fully available, it's all available, right? But therefore, what happened in the Supreme Court, I didn't realize they went to Supreme Court there. And 10 years later, judgment came which left everybody stupefied. There, that Supreme Court said the client, or means the petitioner, has not asked for any material gains, and that we feel that we are not competent to judge these kind of matters.
Right.
And we also feel that these matters should not be dealt with by the tribunal. As a result, they nullified the decision given by the tribunal in my favor.
Okay.
Right? So as a result, the thing stands because army is in no position to amend their this factual.
Unless they had done it way back.
They should have. No, even now.
Or after the battle.
Now it can be done, sir. Really, there's nobody they can take action against.
Yeah.
It can be done. But these are the aberrations. What Kargil War is really not settling down is that except for the fact that the battalions and the boys and the young officers did an excellent job. Rest, there are too many aberrations. These aberrations are not settling down. Even 25 years later, they are not settling down.
So it's time we settle these aberrations.
These need to be settled. There's nothing very great.
Let me come to another point. In the award of battle honors, I believe in Kargil there were 7 brigades involved in all.
Yes, sir. I'll repeat them. 79, 56, 192. These belong to 8 Div. There was 121 which was already there. There was the 102 brigade which was in Siachen. And there was my brigade, which is 70 brigade, and the 50 para brigade.
So out of these 7 brigades, 70 infantry brigade got the maximum battle honors. If 8 POWs were taken in the war, 6 of them were taken in the Batalik sector. You were commanding, as you said, 11 battalions at one point in time. So do you feel that you and the 70th Infantry Brigade was given a rough deal? Looking back 25 years later?
Certainly, sir, not 25 years. We have been harping on this point and trying to somehow reach out to the authorities that may be there, that how is this aberration being allowed to, stay? Because the results are very clear.
Right.
This honors, battle theatre honors came only in 2005.
Right.
Not in 99. And that's why we went short on the individual awards. But in 2005, we got 40% of battle and theatre honors, almost the same as 8
Right.
right there. One single brigade, right? But it was kept silent. And now what we are saying is we cleared our area of responsibility in Pakistanis by 9th of July, whereas Dras and Mashko cleared it by 26th of July and other sectors cleared it by 26th of July. So in every way, it's a very sterling performance. But somehow the focus is not allowed to be there. And in most seminars, in most functions, Batalik Sector is excluded. And where it is being shown Batalik Sector, it is being shown under ADIV as part of their this thing. They have nothing against ADIV. ADIV did an excellent job. There's no denying it. And I've served under General Mandapuri. I salute him there and there. But what I'm trying to say is this aberration is somehow carrying on. Unless these aberrations are settled, maybe 25 years, maybe we'll be there in another 15 years, but these things will carry on.
General VP Malik, the then chief, wrote a book 6-7 years after the war, From Surprise to Victory. Looking back, was it really a victory at all, Brigadier Devinder Singh?
So certainly for the boys who did the assaults, and including as a brigade, we did the assaults, for us it's a victory because we had a task. There's an enemy there and we there. But if you start analyzing at the highest level, that the enemy has come in.
Let's talk about the generalship.
Sir, what I'm saying, generalship is something different. I've already commented on it. That there are issues. People are asking whether we could have done this war with lesser casualties, whether we should have, and there are ways to it, whether we should have opened another front, we should have crossed the LOC, which were politically not expedient and therefore not done. But there are other ways. Then you could have kept yourself disengaged. The initial attacks were again a disaster.
But talking of the victory,
yeah.
So was it? It's a victory of what? Victory of who? Young leaders, soldiers?
Yes, certainly. Certainly, it is their victory because they have delivered against all odds.
But what about the generalship? What kind of generalship did you experience? You were dealing with 4 to 5 generals. You had a div commander. There was a div commander functioning next door. You had a corps commander. You had an army commander. You were dealing with the chief. I'm sure there were DGMO, DGMI were all in touch with you.
I think, except for the chief, who was. Whenever a few occasions met, and even later on his actions, he acted as a stabilizing factor. Though I feel that he could have been far more effective and set things right at that time, which obviously has not happened, and even today these aberrations remain. But there was a coterie of generals.
Coterie?
Coterie means who were there, who for various reasons did not deliver as well as they should have.
Okay.
Right?
You're being very cautious.
But they've got away with awards. And the blame on the subordinates, this is the only war where only juniors have been blamed.
Right.
Right? And these juniors blamed are, I think, far, far more than what were blamed in the 1971 war, right? Which were 10 times or 20 times bigger in size.
Right.
So really, there are these things that to be pondered about.
Sure. Thank you very much, Brigadier. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.